We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
Consumerism. What is it? Do any of us really know? The word consumerism is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the buying and using of goods and services, the belief that it is good for a society or an individual person to buy and use a large quantity of goods and services. In theory, it may seem like there's nothing wrong with this model. But the reality is that there is an increasingly widening gap between production and the consumption of products. In a lifetime, the average North American would throw away 600 times his or her adult weight in garbage. From food to clothing to technology, our consumption of products has increased at an alarming rate. So how does this affect us? Well, consumerism affects all aspects of our society. The environment, the people that make the products, and also our psychology as a global community. This 4-part documentary series will examine the different aspects of consumerism, including the importance of being a conscious consumer, the accessibility of fair trade products, and the idea of consumerism and how it has changed. But the first portion of this doc will focus on Joeseph St. Denis, a man making his own statement about consumerism. The bitter cold of an early February morning in Canada is dreaded by many of us. It's always difficult dragging yourself from underneath the covers and dressing warmly enough, hoping that your car is heated so you won't have to endure too much of the cold weather. These cold mornings are especially challenging for Guelph native Joeseph St. Denis, known to many simply as Shoeless Joe.
From Joeseph St. Denis's apartment in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. This is the Daily Walk with Joeseph St. Denis. As you can see, it is a balmy negative 10 degrees Celsius in Guelph today, and I am your host for this walk, Joeseph St. Denis.
Joeseph St. Denis was born on Christmas Eve 1981 in Guelph, Ontario. After finishing high school, he eventually found work at a computer store down the street from where he lived. This is when Joe made a decision that would change his life forever and send a powerful message to people. On September 11, 2009, Joeseph St. Denis began his peaceful protest against consumerism by taking off his shoes. He has been walking barefoot ever since. It's been 8 years since he began his protest.
It was like a moist October. It was October, so it was a really moist kind of night. We were walking around, and I was wearing my shoes back then, which at that point were these white New Balance. You've probably seen them if you look at people's feet. They're very common, and I wore them into the ground. They were just like worn right down. Like I'd shorn the sides off them. They were splitting off the side. And I just wouldn't replace them because I'm stubborn and cheap. So I figured if I'm going to replace my shoes, I got to find something that fits my perspective on it. Because when I was young, I was raised to understand specifically that shoes were things that were made in places that were below standards that we would have for ourselves. Putting that upon people is a little hypocritical. It's wrong to live in hypocrisy.
But finding a pair of shoes that are ethically made, environmentally friendly, and cost-efficient is a lot more difficult than we may think.
You go through the regular thoughts. They're like, oh, you could find something ethically made and just buy that. Maybe go get something used. Maybe wear moccasins. There are alternatives.
So what can we do to end this corrosive cycle of consumerism in our society?
The only way to fight consumerism is to walk it off. That's my argument. So that's what I started doing. Give up the vehicles as much as you can. Give up the needless material stuff as much as you can. And demand that the stuff that you do require for your basic quality of life come from those respectable sources. And be willing to sacrifice. That's the key part that a lot of people just don't care to accept. Because it's easy to say those things are bad and the powerful people need to change and do stuff. But you know what? to a certain degree, everybody needs to sacrifice. It's important to live in your neighborhood, and people need to spend more time doing that. Because really, if you get into the nitty-gritty of how the philosophical theories on this works, it is only strong local neighborhoods that can resist this type of assault.
Right.
So if we don't have those kinds of communities, then yeah, our values are going to be whatever are sold to us.
And that concludes part 1 of our docuseries, Consumed by Consumerism. To stay updated on my upcoming stories and to contribute story ideas, please follow me on Twitter at CavYogan. Signing off for Ion Sheridan Radio, I'm Kavya Yoganathan.